to edition 41 of All Killa No Filla podcast with me, Rachel Fairburn, and Kiri Pritchard-McLean. Just before we start, we'll do our usual disclaimer. This isn't hero worship. We do this podcast because we have a mutual interest in serial killers. As long as we are doing this podcast, it stops us from writing to them in prison.
Episode 41, Graham Young, the Teacup Poisoner.
Yeah.
We're recording this in, you can hear there's quite a lot of background noise, sorry about that, guys. In a little office in my agent's in London.
The greatest city on earth.
Yeah, because Rachel's fucking deserted the north.
I'll be back at some point.
Packed on
when I want to buy a house.
Packed on mate, you won't be able to afford it by the time you move back.
Oh, God.
It's on the up.
I've made an error.
Yeah, huge error.
Everything's been a mistake.
So, this is probably a bit later than we'd like, but this is the first time we've been able to meet up down here. Mm-hmm. So sorry if the sound quality is not up to scratch. You can hear conversation. Probably someone wanting to hire Claudia Winkleman in the background. That's usually, I love that when they
get me Winkleman.
Or sometimes I'll sit in the in like the office waiting for my meeting with my agent or whatever, and I'll be like, and then someone would go, okay, I'll just put you through now, and then I'll be like, I got Chloe on line 1 about Claudia Winkleman. Okay, I'll patch you through to you. And I'm like, I'm not meant to be here.
I used to work in tourist information years ago, which I'm sure I've mentioned on here, and we had to do 1 day a week in a telephone call centre thing, where it was in this marketing office. And it was like it's really shit company. And this woman was on the phone once and she went, I know who we need for this. Tell you what, get me Hillary Clinton.
The fuck was the job?
Probably turn on the Christmas lights or something. Get me Hillary Clinton.
Get me Clinton. Yes, we're talking about Graham Young, who is actually a walk in the park compared to Richard Ramirez.
Dream this is relaxing.
I got into my own head about it. Home invasion, as you know, Rachel, my worst nightmare.
Hate it.
Came home from work from a gig about 2 o'clock in the morning. Went to unlock my front door, and it was already unlocked. And yeah, my boyfriend had left early in the morning, and I was like, oh my God, there's someone waiting to kill me in my house. And/or it's been unlocked all day and there's someone waiting to kill me in my house. Couldn't phone him because he had gone to bed early because he was up filming at like 5 the next day.
Someone's doing all right.
It's absolutely all right. There's a non-TX pilot in Cardiff with mine, Clune, so read into that what you will. So I was like, oh, fuck. So I opened the door. My dog didn't run and greet me, I was like, okay, he's been killed. Yeah. He eventually slumped down the stairs. So I got him, locked the door behind me. I was like, I'm going to lock the killer in the house. Walked the dog, came back inside, and I was like, I can't go upstairs because I can't see because the lights aren't on. I'm going to get murdered. So I searched the downstairs with the dog. Downstairs is fine. Oh, London, you absolute pig. Did you hear that? That's disgusting. Anyway, so I was like...
You just called an entire city a pig.
It is. It fucking stinks, and it's a pig of a place with no manners. Anyway.
Home sweet home.
So I'm freaking out. So I had all the lights on downstairs, and I was like, I can't go upstairs. So I thought, it's okay, I'll just sleep on the sofa. But I needed a piss, and my toilet's upstairs, so I ended up... There's nothing sadder than sort of hovering and urinating into a saucepan while your dog tries to have its dinner next to you in the kitchen, because I had to tuck myself around the side in case anyone looked through a window and saw my bare ass hovering over a saucepan.
When you said just tuck yourself around the side, I thought you were talking about the logistics of your vagina then.
Or like pull the knickers out of the way. No, I've never done that. No, I've never done trust my spray. So yeah, I peed into a saucepan.
You see, this is it now. I'm not across the road. You could have just come to mine.
Yeah, I know. I slept on the sofa with a hammer with the dog.
Jesus.
I know. It's noisy in here. We're not doing it in here again. Anyway, right. So this is Graham Young. If you look at pictures of him, he looks like any wrong-un from the 60s, doesn't he?
Yes.
He's got that look about even like Brady's got about him. David Smith.
Sort of that brooding look.
Yeah, that sort of like, I don't trust you.
No.
Someone tweeted us, a comedian Silky, and said he looked like a young Phil Ellis, who's a friend of ours who's a comedian. And Phil Ellis looks like a wrong-un, but I wouldn't say it's this kind of wrong-un. So he was born September the 7th 1947 in Neasden in North London to Fred and Bessie. Good solid names.
Yes,
then.
They're good
they
names.
Do a good roast, don't they?
Oh, I'll bet, but I wouldn't eat at their house. As we'll find out why. Now his mother Bessie died 2 weeks, I think it was, after he was born. And it was pleurisy, wasn't it?
Yeah, she had pleurisy during the pregnancy, and then when he was 3 months... Pleurisy, you don't hear that anymore, do you?
No.
That's old school.
That is old school.
Like Scousers, never hear of them anymore. They're gone.
What? Oh, the
skirt trousers.
Skirt trousers. They were awful.
They were everywhere in year 7.
Horrible material as well.
Yeah, always cheap. That material that's got stretch in it, that if you wear it for too long, you get like along the sort of seam of your bum, all the bits of elastic come out. It looks like you've got worms.
This is like a memory that I had totally forgotten. It's so vivid now. And I've just not thought about it for so many years.
Well, I'm glad I brought that back to you.
Thank you.
So she died as a result of this pleurisy of TB when he was 3 months old, and apparently Fred, his father, was absolutely devastated. Sent Graham, baby Graham, to live with his aunt. Baby Graham to live with Aunt Winnie, and then Winifred. There's only 2 names in this story. Fred, Winnie. Winifred. His sister Winifred went with the grandparents. So Graham was like 2 years old when he was living with Winnie and her husband Jack, and then Fred remarries Molly, and they move to St Albans, and they take the little boy. Now apparently this really affected him.
As it would do. I mean, he's had spooky sound effect there.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's fucking noisy, isn't it?
It is noisy, but it's a hive of activity.
It is. But I mean, it's what is it now? It's like 6:05. Come on, you should be winding down, guys. You should be looking at Facebook for the last 25 minutes.
So, where was he up to? Oh, yeah, so he didn't like this video. He couldn't settle properly, became withdrawn, antisocial. I'm a bit like that. And he started to...
City for it, mate.
He started to read... When he was old enough to read, he started to read about what we would describe as taboo subjects. Such as...
No one has ever described it as that, but go on, push on.
He was obsessed with Nazis.
Aren't we all, mate? But yeah, no, he used to, as soon as he could read, all he wanted to read about was non-fictional accounts of murder. Imagine that, Rachel. And
Very strange.
And he was obsessed with Dr. Crippen as well.
He would have had a podcast. He used to read Mein Kampf quite openly.
Sure.
I used to talk about the virtues of Hitler. So
that's so brave as well, because that's just after the Second World War, isn't it? And he's walking around, apparently he used to wear swastikas and say that Hitler was misunderstood. Ugh, which is so gross.
Bloody hell.
And he got really into the occult, and apparently he used to do like these weird sort of occult ceremonies that he'd recruit the local kids where he lived in his village to do them with him, and once they sacrificed a cat.
Can I be a druid this time, please? Does he actually sacrifice
one
a cat?
potato, 2 potatoes. Trying to do it on dibs. Yeah, they sacrificed a cat, and then loads of local cats started disappearing.
Warning sign.
If you had a kid, right, who's only reading about murder, who's wandering around with swastikas on, going, actually Hitler was misunderstood, which is the kind of thing that Morrissey would say to get publicity for his latest album.
Yeah.
And then he starts recruiting kids into doing occult ceremonies. You'd be like, let's keep an eye on it. That's not a phase, is it?
You'd be having a chat with the parents, really, at
definitely.
Some point. We're actually saying, when he said, we were discussing this before, when he used to claim that Hitler was misunderstood, you said to me, oh, that's the kind of thing that they say about Louis C.K. now. Because we actually had to cut out last episode.
Was it last episode?
Yeah, and it was about 4 days before that story broke.
Yeah.
About Louis C.K. and his...
wanking.
Yeah. Why did I not want to say wanking? What's wrong with me?
I don't know.
And his errant penis. That... Because you mentioned it and I said, I can't say that.
We'll get sued, yeah.
And we were going to beep it out and I said, no, cut it out. Could have just left it in.
Yeah.
Would have been ahead of the game.
There you go, spoiler alert. You'll know about
that. Yeah, well...
No, I will cut that out.
Yeah.
That'll get cut out. In fact, I'll beep that.
Beep
so
it.
Then, in a few episodes' time when it comes out, I'll go, just so you know, that's the name that we beeped. Jesus. But apparently his only interests at school were chemistry, forensic science and toxicology. I don't know what fucking specialist school he's in.
Maths, science and English, that's pretty much what you have at school.
Yeah.
Before secondary school, so I don't know what...
Well, apparently he sort of took it as far as he could in school, and then after that it was extracurricular. So his dad was really supportive. He bought him a chemistry kit, chemistry set. And he used to go...
This was from passing his 11 plus.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, so that was a little gift for him. He got a chemistry set.
I remember my parents used to get me sort of like educational toys, which is as bad as it sounds. But I remember this one year, they got me this thing called a video scope, which is like a microscope. You slide, obviously a slide under, but it comes up and it shows it on like a screen, like a really 90s looking screen, like, you know, those look around. Those, Those it looked like something from that. And at first it's great. You look at like a fly wing under there. It's pretty amazing. But then it is just shit. It's like, oh look, there's some sand, but a bit bigger.
Again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's 50 times bigger. So it's still very small. And like talcum powder, it just looks like talcum powder. Like there's only so much you can put under their finger. That's just a pink blob.
Yeah. Once you've seen one wing, you've seen them all, haven't you?
I mean, I say that, 2-3 times a day, mate? Once you've seen one wing, you've seen them all.
I think that's a nice present. My parents used to get me educational stuff. I did have a chemistry set. I had a chemistry set. Never opened it. Got a magic set. Not interested, mate. Got no time for magic.
They're trying to turn you into a bedroom-bound boy, aren't they? There you go, chemistry set, magic set. Go and wank away your teens.
I think they must have done.
Such a weird present.
One of the best presents I ever got was I don't even know what it was. It was a set of bits of wood, like sticks, with PVA glue. And I think you were meant to make something, but I just used to sit there messing with the glue because, I mean, obviously it was non-toxic because it was for kids. Just really like the smell of it.
What?
Just like the smell of it.
But what was the present?
I don't know. I just remember sticking loads of bits of wood together.
So did you make like a ship or something?
Didn't make anything.
No, I understand that that's your lack of ambition, but like, what were you meant to do?
I don't know. This is what I don't know. I just remember obviously getting it and going, oh right, what's this? And then opening it and it was bits of wood, and then everything was a blur. And I woke up and I was 30.
I don't think it was non-toxic glue, mate. I think you've been pushing down all sorts.
Does anyone sniff glue anymore?
Oh, they must do.
I feel like I ever never sniff glue.
No, I've never done that. Not even a permanent marker, mate.
Not for me.
No, that's quite a nostalgic thing to do. They're all huffing wheelie bins these days, aren't they? Have you heard about that? Set fire to a wheelie bin and put your face in it, and the toxic fumes make you high.
Just go and buy drugs. That's too much effort.
Well, no, it's not. It's cheaper, isn't it? Also, the thrill of stealing a wheelie bin, mate.
Cheaper for who? I mean, the council tax will be going up.
It does every year anyway. And it's not because of the errant wheelie bins, but that was the thing. I thought everyone knew that. Anyway, we digress. What a fucking surprise.
Videoscope.
Oh yeah, so he knew. So he, at like 13, he knew so much about chemicals and things like that. He walked into a chemist and said, "Oh no, I'm 17." And they're asking him loads of questions, and he had the knowledge of a 17-year-old. So he bought a load of poison, like arsenic, thallium, things like that. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Oh, I need these for my." How dare they use their office?
How dare they?
Excuse me, this is a workspace for you guys. So if you could actually be incredibly sombre, that would make my life easier.
I have absolutely nothing to do with this company, but if you'd like to keep the noise down.
I don't. This is the corporate side. There's fucking nothing for me in here, is there? Anyway, so he bought all these things and said, "Oh, I need it for school." So he needed someone to test out these poisons on. So he had one mate at school, Chris Williams. I've kissed about 18 Chris Williamses growing up in Wales. There was 8 Chris's in my year at school.
Really?
Yeah. 2 Carlys.
There's quite a lot of Rachels in mine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's about 3.
Only 1 Kiri. So his only mate, Chris Williams, starts vomiting, getting cramps, headaches.
Yep.
And he had mixed these poisons in such a way you couldn't go, "Oh, this is arsenic or this is thallium." He'd mixed it up so all the symptoms were sort of, well, it was loads of symptoms, so they didn't know he was being poisoned, and he was getting sicker and sicker. Mm-hmm. And then he would be off school, and that used to really piss off Graham because he was like, if he's off school I can't monitor his progress.
Mm-hmm. So they had a day out at London Zoo, so not just the poisoner but a truant as well. And so Chris was off sick, and he said, "Oh, I'll go to the London Zoo with you." And they, because obviously Chris is getting a bit better, so Graham says, "Oh, actually, I've brought some lemonade. I've heard it's very good with its healing properties." And Chris drinks it, and he gets ill again. Why is lemonade always like the thing that people are poisoned with in, like, films.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I went to watch that film I was telling you about, the Killing of a Sacred Deer. It's very good, you should go. That's what I do now, just go to the cinema on my own.
Last time I went to the cinema on my own, someone got their penis out next to me. Just laid it on their leg.
You joking?
No. I was telling Daniel this, he was like, he always goes to the cinema on his own. And I was like, well, last time I went...
What did you do?
I just got up and moved. They sort of like... I thought, like, you know when you see something out the corner of your eye, I thought he had his phone on because I could see something like lighter. Not that there was light coming from it because I could suggest he's been boffing uranium if that was the case. But I could see something and I looked and I was like, oh, he's literally just laid his penis out on his leg next to me. So now I don't go to the cinema on my own because I'm too sexy.
That's weird.
Yeah, of course it's weird. I'm not
you...
saying it like it's the most normal thing in the world.
Why don't you tell the people... Well, the teenagers...
That man who's now sitting there perfectly normally got his penis out at me. I wanted to see the film. I don't even remember what it was now. Imagine if I'd known that he did it because the smell had changed.
Because of what?
Like, what's that smell? Oh, his dick's out.
That's fucking awful.
Oh yeah, that's the worst part of this story, isn't it? Yeah, Rachel. You're the reason women like me don't come forward, mate.
Don't start. Don't start with me.
You're the one who made me cut out Louis C.K.'s name.
Yeah, but that was then. I mean, now... Say what you want.
Oh yeah, we can all be brave now, can't we, mate?
Anyway.
You want to be a hero now.
Speaking of brave, he takes a bold move then, Graham, and he starts to poison his family because he can't get access to Chris Williams all the time.
Yeah, so he can't see him when he's off school at home, and he's like, well, if I can't see him, I can't make notes in my diary, because this boy loved to keep a diary. He was the Adrian Mole of serial killers. So he started to poison his family. So in 1961, his family starts showing signs of poisoning. Now his dad thought it was a mistake, because he thought, oh, you're not washing your cups and stuff after you know, whatever, make your poisons or do your experiments, so we're getting ill. Because also some of the time Graham was ill, so when he was like, are you know, is everything all right here? And then he was like, oh, it can't be my son because he's being sick as well. Now they don't know if he was doing that as a double bluff, like vomiting and stuff, to sort of throw them off the scent, or he was just shit and forgot what teacups he poisoned and was drinking from them.
Yeah. So they've all got flu-like symptoms by this point.
That's like, have you heard that way to give... Are you still smoking, by the way?
Who, me?
Yeah. Yes, you are, you fucking...
Oh, you took something to me. Am I still smoking? In what respect? Am I still smoking?
Of course you are.
Do you mean like
you said on
smoking?
Here, like,
or do you mean like Jim Carrey smoking? What do you mean? Like smoking or smoking? I'm not doing it.
No, yeah, do the impression.
I'm not doing
the impression and I'll let you have it.
I'm not doing a Jim Carrey impression.
No.
It's 2017.
Do you know what one of the... are you going to do Austin Powers as well? Yeah, baby.
Well, actually, I couldn't... I nearly said somebody stop me then. But that's still Jim Carrey.
Do you know one of the ways that someone told me to give up smoking is what you do is you get a pack of cigarettes and you get one of your friends to put one of them up their arse, like the bit that you smoke, the bit you put your mouth with the filter, and then you make them mix them up and put it back and be like, I mean, you can smoke one, but you are running the risk that one has been up my butt. Sorry, or you just put them in the bin and go and buy another packet of fags? Sure, if you made of money, mate. Or you can just not smoke and that, you know. Look, listen, when you... I reckon I could tell by looking what's been up a mate's bum. It's one of my talents. Like, you know, when people can guess how much a pig weighs. Listen, I'm not even mentioning bums on this ever again because the hashtag pray for Rachel's arsehole. It wasn't that, don't paraphrase, it was pray for her bumhole. Pray for Rachel's arsehole. Like, that has been... you know, sometimes when people mention stuff on a podcast here and you go, oh, I forgot to mention that. I swear to God, in fact, when I bumped into your agent last night, and she said, oh, I was listening to the latest one. Oh, dry bumming. I was like, fucking hell. I'm so sorry I mentioned any of it. So sorry. It's not me you need to apologise to. Anyway, yes, I'm still smoking. And do you know what? I really need one now, actually. Right, well, I've stuck one up my arse, so good luck with it. Listen, my taste buds are that gone. I won't even notice, mate. I'll be honest with you, I'd welcome the oh, is this menthol? I'd welcome the physical sort of contact that would give me. Jesus Christ, that's Blake. Right, anyway, His sister, Winifred, was found to have been poisoned. This is in 1961 by belladonna, which is...
Beautiful lady.
It's a plant. So his dad he suspected that it was Graham, but he didn't say anything. And then Graham started poisoning Molly, his stepmom. And he began upping the poison. And then in April of 1962, on the 21st, Fred comes home, finds Molly just writhing in agony, takes her out to the back garden for fresh air, and she's like really doubled over in agony, and he looks up and Graham is stood there watching out of his bedroom window. Probably cracking one off underneath the window.
It's so weird.
What a little wrong 'un.
So weird.
She gets taken to hospital that night and she died. Now the doctors said she died of a prolapsed spinal bone.
Well, this is it. It said the doctors were baffled. In my experience of things, doctors are always baffled.
They're constantly baffled, aren't they?
Like,
and when they're not, they're getting it wrong, clearly.
Yeah. Oh, doctors were baffled. I don't know what's wrong.
The only thing I've ever known to be baffled is a doctor.
Yeah. Doctors were baffled. It's true, isn't it?
Yeah, they are.
Her last words, which is very sad, were, I want to go home to make... Sorry. Her last words, which is very sad, I want to go home to make for my family dinner. When all the bloody problems started, to be quite frank with you, love.
Well, she was cremated, which was Graham's suggestion. Just as soon as your kid is like, oh, it's so sad that her stepmom's gone, just the thought that we should probably cremate her, and it's like, why are you getting involved, you little shit? So they think that she got a tolerance to antimony, this poison, so he switched to thallium the night before, and that's what killed her, because she got this tolerance. Like Rasputin, he used to poison himself, so when they tried to poison him, it didn't have any effect. God, he's a creepy shit.
Our friend Will Duggan's reading a book about Rasputin.
I've told you this before, but I'm fucking terrified of him.
Really?
I've told you this before on here, I'm sure.
No.
I have, like, waking nightmares about him.
Really? Will?
His dick on the... Not Will. His dick on the internet, that's probably Will. But his dick in that jar is one of the scariest things I've ever seen.
Oh, man.
And his face, there's one picture of him in particular that I find fucking terrifying, although the Boney M song is an absolute banger.
It is a good tune.
So at Molly's funeral, apparently there was vomiting and nausea from people, so that shows he was probably poisoning people at the funeral as well.
Absolutely.
Take a day off, mate, it's a funeral. That's the best part of a funeral, is you get a half day and the little sandwiches afterwards. I fucking love a wake. Yes, please.
I've never been to one.
You've never been to a wake?
Nope.
Grow up, mate.
I haven't been to funerals. I've never been to a...
What, they've never put on a spread afterwards?
I remember when my grandparents died, we just had a few people who came to the house for a cup of tea, but I'm of the opinion...
Here we go.
This is just me. I'm all for celebrating people's lives, but...
None of that Hawaiian shirt bollocks.
I find it really I find the idea of a party after a funeral really...
It's not a party.
Well, a gathering like that,
Sometimes it's really nice, like, everyone gets to sit and reminisce and get pissed and go, oh, do you remember when they did that?
Yeah, I don't know. Having said that, my family don't drink, so...
I'll be honest, I'm in it for the little sandwiches.
Just the sandwiches.
I fucking love a wake.
It's incredible that my family don't drink, but...
Yeah, or are you totting up the alcohol for them?
Evidently, yeah.
Really? They don't drink?
No.
That's strange.
And my dad drinks. That's it. No.
My family doesn't drink either.
Mum doesn't drink. My aunties don't drink. None of them. My granddad used to drink a little bit. My gran didn't. Family of near teetotalers.
This background noise is horrific. It sounds like a fucking Trafford Centre in the background.
Like we're at a wake.
Yeah, like we're at a wake of someone popular. Basically, long and short of it, fucking love a little sandwich, love a wake.
I do.
Love a half a scone that they have on the side.
I had to run out for a little sandwich before, didn't I?
You did, you had a funny turn in it.
Yeah.
And then you've left the crust like a fucking baby.
Now, listen, I do eat the crust off sandwiches, 100% I do. I'm not that childish, but this is from Costa Coffee. I hate food from Costa Coffee. And coffee. I mean, the chat on this podcast really is top notch.
This is getting cut.
Hate food from... No,
I'm cutting this out like it's some crusts on a baby sandwich.
Hate it, right? And I just find food from Costa and Starbucks and places like that awful. But it was the nearest place. And
For context, she just ate some hair off the floor because
by accident.
Because she got it all over her fingers, put her fingers in her mouth. She just got a mouthful of hair.
I need to go to bed.
So he's as soon as Molly's dead, he starts on Fred. So Fred starts to get sickness, goes into hospital. Now, it's not actually the doctors, they're still baffled, who pick up on it. His chemistry teacher, Graham's chemistry teacher, goes in his desk, finds a load of poisons and information he's written on poisoners. So calls the police and goes, I think there's something not right with this kid. Also, his family keep dying. So they take Graham in, they take him to a police psychiatrist, and they're chatting to him and they go, this kid's really bright, but he knows a lot about poisoners. So May 23rd, 1962, he's arrested. He admitted that he poisoned his dad.
When he poisoned Fred, and he was in hospital, wasn't it? Graham started to dispute with the baffled doctors which poison it could be. He was like, no, don't you think it could be this? And Fred screamed, get him out of here.
Really?
Yeah.
Fucking hell. So he admits to poisoning his dad, to Chris and his sister, but there's no charges for Molly because there's no evidence because her body was cremated, which I think he knew when he insisted on it. Mm-hmm. So he gets taken to Broadmoor, and he's only a kid.
Yeah, 14 years old. The youngest inmate, is it inmate? Yeah. At Broadmoor since 1885.
Well, patient, because it's a hospital technically.
Oh yeah, patient. Youngest patients at Broadmoor since 1885, and it was a minimum of 15 years that he was meant to serve.
Now, he'd been there a few weeks, and John Berridge died of a patient died of cyanide poisoning.
Jesus.
And he said to the staff, oh yeah, that was me, I extracted it from the laurel bush leaves, and they thought he was just being Billy Big Balls. So they didn't believe him, and they said, oh yeah, no, it was suicide.
Incredible.
So he had literally killed a person within a few weeks.
People getting ill as well. I mean, this is the theme around him. So he was putting Harpic and sugar soap in the tea urn.
Yeah, well, they caught one of it in time. He'd put a load of sugar soap in the tea urn, and they found it, and if it had gone out, they would have killed people. Jesus. Yeah, he can't help himself. This is the thing. So he keeps up his research, is using the prison library, but he knows they're going to watch me. Mm-hmm. They're going to be watching for my behaviour. So if I hide that I'm doing this research, I'm going to get out sooner. And he was right. So in 1970, the doctors pushed for a release, saying he's cured, we've managed to cure him, this is a big leap forward. And just before he goes out, he said to the nurse, I'm going to kill one person every year that I've been in here. Now, they wrote this down and recorded it, but then when it came to letting him out, they knew this, it was on his record, and they went, yeah, no, I'd be fine, and they just let him out anyway.
It's incredible. It was actually allowed, sort of as part of his rehabilitation, when he said he was getting better, they actually let him out for a week at a time, and he wrote to his sister, and he said to her, guess what, your friendly neighbourhood Frankenstein is coming to stay for a week.
What?
So obviously no poisonings were going on while he was on sort of week release, because he wasn't daft, was it?
No.
Nobody was ill, nobody was getting poisoned.
Well, you say that. On the 4th of February 1971, he's 23, is that right? Born in.
It was released when he was 23.
Yeah, so he's 23. So he goes to stay in a hospital, and he writes to his sister, is in contact with her. Now, his dad wants nothing to do with him. Funny that.
Yeah.
He's got a monk on since he got poisoned. So he's like, don't want anything to do, but his sister's still having contact with him. So what he'd do is, he'd go to the old crime scenes where he poisoned people and knock about and wait for the neighbours to recognise him. It's creepy, isn't it?
Just returning to the scene of the crime. It is weird, isn't it?
It's really unsavoury. And he's, like, 23. I just think that, like, why are alarm bells not going off? It's so mad that all this stuff was ignored to me. So he gets... he goes on these trips to London to buy antimony, thallium, arsenic.
I can't say antimony.
I don't think I'm saying it right. Antimony.
Antimony.
Is that right?
Yeah, but I can't say it. I sound like I'm...
Say it again.
Antimony.
You sound like a baby.
I can't say it. I couldn't say Holy Communion.
Holy Communion.
For years.
Are you saying those two in fucking close proximity anytime soon?
Holy Communion.
Say, I'm going to put antimony in the Holy Communion wine.
I can't say thoroughly properly either.
I'm going to thoroughly put antimony in the Holy Communion wine. Go on.
I'm going to thoroughly put antimony in the Holy Communion.
You sound like you've had the roof of your mouth anaesthetised.
What what is wrong with me? Having said that, I'm not going to have to say antimony.
No, or Holy Communion after your behaviour.
Antimony.
Oh, fuck.
What do you mean after my behaviour? You leave me alone.
That's amazing, because you didn't flag that up for a little while there. You let that happen.
After my behaviour. Returning to the scene of the crime. That's pretty much the most of my life at the moment.
Well, he went back. So he goes over to London to buy these poisons, and while he's staying in a hostel, hostel, same fucking difference. Both places I never want to stay. Hostels freak me out.
I've never stayed in one. I'd rather sit at a train station all night than...
Really?
Yeah.
I think the first time I stay in a hostel, I'll get turned into a lampshade. There's just... Yeah, it's a binary state.
I just don't like the idea of having to share a room with people that you don't know.
I tell a lie. I once stayed in a hostel, but I was the only person in the room. It's when you start out doing comedy and you fucking skip.
Yeah,
like, I need somewhere to say there's £15.
I just wouldn't do it. As well, I don't like the idea of being in close proximity to a stranger.
You live in London, you fucking maniac.
No, I mean like in like a sleep environment.
What did you do in your 20s?
I always like to get to know people a little bit first.
Oh, bullshit.
I do. Like, I like to know a person before.
Fuck off.
True.
I do not believe you for a sec. You've never had a one-night stand?
I'm not saying... right, I'm not saying anything, but
What do you do? Quick Q&A before we get on with this? Before I let you bum me?
Oh, fuck off. I like to know a person before...
I don't believe you for a second.
I just wouldn't want to wake up and someone there and like, oh, who's this now? Like, I like
of course, that's why people don't want to stay in a hostel.
I like to know these people.
Yeah, of course, that's the bad part of it, isn't it?
Yeah. But
then you think about
I couldn't do it. I mean, if I saw someone out there now and I thought, oh, he's alright, and then he said, oh, do you want to come back to mine? I'd be like, nah. Couldn't do it.
Well, that's fair, because that's like, well, that's silly, isn't it?
Yeah.
You want somewhere with loads of witnesses and stuff.
I'm feeling a bit asexual at the moment.
You are fucking...
Asexual machine.
No way.
No, I am, honestly.
Bullshit.
I'm not interested in any men.
She's lying, just so you know she's lying.
I'm not, I genuinely, I don't...
What did you text me this morning? Who were you texting me about?
Oh...
Fucking asexual. I can literally put screen grabs of her and like, can you get me a date with blank blank?
I asked a question about a man.
Yeah. And you're like, oof, I really like him.
I didn't mean it.
That's really asexual, isn't it? You're like a dog with two dicks, mate.
Oh God, I'm not. I just feel not interested at the moment.
Do you literally mean in this hour then? Because this morning you were texting me about going on, like, oh, do you reckon I could get a date with him?
Well, I'd forgotten about that, to be honest.
Yeah, I fucking thought you had. Anyway, hostels. So, this guy staying in a hostel with Trevor Sparks comes down, he's 34 years old, in fine health, comes down with sickness, cramps. Another guy in the hostel was in so much pain from these cramps while Graham was staying there. He killed himself.
Fucking hell.
He was literally in that much pain, he killed himself.
That is awful.
And no one made any connection.
I can't, like, imagine just staying in it and being that much agony that you're just like, I'm just going to top myself.
I think that's why I don't drink anymore. Because the last few hangovers I've had, I'm like, goodbye, cruel world. Like, it's too much. You know, when it's so deep in a hangover, you're like, I'm never going to feel okay ever again.
Yeah. Oh, right now. That's what I'm living right now. You know what I do like with a hangover? There's two things that I like. Number one...
Dominoes.
No, it's when... Say you've had, like, 2 nights out and you've been a bit pissed, and then you know you've got to go out for something else and you know you're going to have a drink. Like, so you've been hungover for 2 days, and then you have a first sip of a pint and you go, yeah, it's going to be alright, this.
What, when you start drinking again, that's the bit you like about hangover?
That, yeah. No,
mate,
but like 3 days.
This is going to have to turn into an intervention.
And then the other thing that I like is the one where I feel now is, you know, when you've got a bit of a hangover and you're just like, I'm too tired to care about anything. I don't give a shit about anything.
You are fucking hilarious, because I've never known anyone get beer fear as hard as you do. I can't believe what shit you're chatting at the moment.
I know, I do get beer fear.
Well, if you've been out drinking, I'd be like, oh mate, everything's going to be alright, isn't it? What fucking point in a hangover do you get where you don't care about anything? All I get from you is anxiety, like pure liquid anxiety.
True, I suppose you're right, actually. But they are two good things about the hangover. You're sort of our friend Pete Otway loves being hungover. Did you know that?
Really?
Yeah. He mentioned it once. He said, I absolutely love being hungover. I was like, why? He's like, because it's nice, isn't it? And you can just, snuggle up on the sofa and...
Yeah, but I always have work. I always have to go and do something. So I never have those days where I'm like, I'm just going to stay in my pyjamas and eat pizza.
It's the worst thing you can do.
What, do that?
Yeah, have a shower.
I'm not taking any life advice from you, so just wind your neck in.
But I don't
Take it from me. Get up, have a shower, start drinking again, pretend you're asexual. Job's a good one. Smoke a fag that's been up someone's ass. Get bummed. Job done.
Get bummed.
Listen, we've got to crack on.
Oh, come on, right, come on.
No pun intended.
Oh, dear. Right.
So, he starts working in the John Hadland lab in Bovingdon.
That sounded like you just made that up.
Yeah, didn't it?
So Broadmoor got him this job. Now, Hadland's was... He obviously very interested in thallium, as we know. Hadland's was one of only 2 places in the entire country where you could get access to thallium. Because it was a photography business.
Well, they knew he'd stayed in Broadmoor, but they didn't know that he was a poisoner. So they were just like, oh, it's just a guy who was not very well and now he's okay. And he would always apparently offer to make the tea and coffee.
Oh, God.
So when everyone started getting sick, no one's going to dob the guy who makes everyone a brew. His boss, 59-year-old Bob Eagle, he starts to get these cramps, dizziness. He thought it was a virus that was going around that was known as the Bovingdon bug because some kids had it in school.
Sounds like a dance that they used to do in the ward, doesn't it?
Everybody do the Bovingdon bug.
Actually, Bob Eagles was a friend of Graham's. He was he was nice to him, and they got on together. He was described as glum, articulate, but intelligent. Glum, articulate, which I'm clearly not today, and intelligent. And someone said, he's all right, just don't ask him about the Nazis or Hitler.
I think that's a good rule for anyone, really.
So Bob Eagle, he begins to... It was horrible, actually, like such a horrible way that people were being ill.
Yeah, it's horrible because they got this sickness and these cramps. Bob would go off work, he'd get better again very quickly because he wasn't being poisoned. He'd go back to work and then he'd get sick again. And then eventually on July the 7th, 1971... he died.
Oh, God.
It's really horrific. This poor fucking guy. And they recorded it as pneumonia.
So, as well, when Bob Eagle died, this is incredible, Graham goes round to visit his widow and suggests cremating him.
Why is he sticking his
oar in? And he also went to the funeral.
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah. What a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that in your diary as well, you little piece of shit? So then, September 1971, just a few months later, Fred Biggs, also works at the company, starts to get these same symptoms. And there was loads of sickness at this place, this lab. There was cramps, that was common. Mm-hmm. People started losing their hair. Apparently there was sexual dysfunction.
Is that what I've got?
Yeah, I think so, mate. Yeah, your hair's coming out in chunks.
There was someone as well that works at Hadland's described just people being ill all the time and somebody being violently ill on the grass outside. I think we know what that means.
Yeah, shat their pants.
Yeah, that's
did
what
a Paula
means.
Radcliffe.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
Well, they thought there was they thought there was radioactive fallout in the area, or that the water had been contaminated. No one knew. It was the fucking new kid who'd started working there.
So then, obviously, Fred Biggs.
Yeah.
He'd befriended him, and he started to get ill. And then
he gets taken to hospital, and apparently he took ages to die, and it was incredibly painful. And Graham goes in his diary, old Anne Frank here, starts fucking scribbling away, and he was moaning. He's like, "Oh, he's taking too long to die. I'm not happy about this." How brutal is that?
It's grim, innit?
That he just sees everyone as experiments. So he eventually dies on the 19th of November 1971, by which time 70 employees at this place have been off sick.
So obviously people are getting a bit concerned, and what the staff at Hadland's did was they called doctors in to reassure people that that is one thing that does not reassure me, the presence of a doctor. I would not be reassured.
What if a doctor comes into work?
Yeah, I'd be like, shit.
Yeah, and it's like, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, nothing to be worried about. I'd be like, fuck that
There's
shit.
something to be worried about.
You've been taking my eggs while I've been asleep.
So, they said they think it's some sort of hybrid flu virus, that they're chatting about it, and they're talking, trying to reassure the staff. Graham chirps up and starts asking technical questions, one of which of the questions was, have you thought that it could be thallium poisoning? So immediately...
Can't keep his fucking mouth shut, can he?
No.
Got to have a brag. So they found his record and his diaries, and they were meticulous. What doses were given, when they were given, their reactions, the people he was poisoning. So it was the first ever case recorded of deliberate poisoning. So he's arrested November the 21st, 1971. So they moved quite quickly on this, to be fair. He visits his dad. He's at the time, police turn up, arrest him. He's got thallium on him. Because you said it was one of those, what's it called?
Exit dose.
Exit dose.
Yeah.
Fucking hate that phrase.
If I had a band, that's what I'd call them.
Really?
Exit dose.
Also sounds like another phrase for bumming, so that all stacks up.
Oh, God.
So he verbally confessed to all these poisonings.
Well, they did tests on Fred's organs as well, and Bob's ashes. And this is horrible... Fred Biggs had 100 grams of thallium in his system when 1 gram can be fatal.
Fucking hell.
So he must have had a strong constitution.
Yeah, tough bugger to keep going that long.
This is all less than 12 months after he's left Broadmoor,
He really cracked on, didn't he? So he verbally confessed, but he wouldn't sign anything. He wouldn't sign a confession or a statement. And apparently it's because he wanted to tell his story in court, because he liked the attention.
Yeah, well, he wrote to one of the reporters working on the case and said, I just want to end up in the Chamber of Horrors.
Oh, what an arsehole.
Yeah.
So he goes to trial, 1972, on June the 19th. He's at St Albans Crown Court. So he's on trial for 2 murders, 2 attempted murders, and 2 administering poisons. And he said he was not guilty of all of them. Now, his previous conviction couldn't be submitted. So the jury are just going off what they hear. Now, he thought he'd be acquitted because you couldn't prove that it was definitely him who poisoned it, and he loved the media attention because this was like a huge case that apparently it was discussed worldwide, and he used to play up in the court, so he'd try and look sinister, which might explain why he looks like a fucking creep in that picture. And he used to try and freak out the jury, have this menacing air about him, which is I don't know why the fuck you're trying to do that. You're trying to get let off, you arsehole. So he hated his nickname because his nickname was the Teacup Poisoner, which sounds super cute.
Oh, he's really
and
cute.
Super camp. I love little Teacup Poisoner. And he hated it. He thought it was belittling to his art and his skill, and he wanted to be known as the World Poisoner.
It doesn't even make any sense, that.
No. Should be ExxonMobil. Am I right, guys? Coca-Cola. I'm here all week. So what he hadn't sort of accounted for is that forensic science would have moved on fucking loads since he killed his stepmom. So they read his diary out as well, which was meticulous, and that is pretty convincing.
Yeah.
So the science could kind of get behind. They went through Fred and Bob's autopsies, and they went through his diary, and he was found guilty of everything, of every charge. June 29th, 1972, and he was given 4 life sentences.
They asked him how he felt, and he said, what I feel is the emptiness of my soul.
Oh, fuck, a Morrissey again.
What
a tedious shit.
He got sent to Parkhurst prison, which is on the Isle of Wight. I never knew that.
He caused a big change in the law. So he was we've cured a patient of mental problems, and then they found out all this, and they were like, we're just going to be really quiet about that for a bit.
Hey, we got our job wrong.
Well, the jury recommended that there was a review into the law selling poisons, which there was. The Home Secretary announced a review of treatment, assessment and release of patients in places like Broadmoor, and in January 1973 they created the Advisory Board for Restricted Patients, so that meant that anyone who looked to be released would now have to go through a board, and it was more rigorous. So I imagine if you say to a nurse, I'm going to kill everyone for every year I've been in here, that it will get flagged from now on, which is good of them.
Yeah, you would think.
So he goes to the Isle of Wight, doesn't he?
Goes to the Isle of Wight. He becomes in Parkhurst prison. Makes a friend.
Yeah.
Who do we think it is, guys? It's Ian Brady.
Great company.
They used to chat about Nazis. He said that Graham Young was like a young Joseph Goebbels.
God, what creepy banter.
Oh, you're like a young Joseph Goebbels. Yeah.
He said, Brady said of him, I think he's genuinely asexual. He's only excited by experiments, observation, and death.
Is this me? I told you I was asexual.
But they used to play chess together and talk about the Nazis, and apparently Graham Young was frequently seen sporting a little Hitler tash.
Oh, God.
Now, it's you who normally gets hard line, but I would say, even if it's Movember, don't be letting murderers, grow Hitler tashes.
No.
You're not allowed. That's one of the things you're not allowed. You lose the right to control your own facial hair.
I mean, that requires a razor as well. Don't give him bloody razors.
Yeah, unless it's epilating it.
How does it happen in prison? I suppose you'd have to use one of those.
Well, you just shave. You just get watched shaving.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. They should have been like, mate, you're not having...
Yeah. But then how'd you make someone? To be honest, I find a goatee as fucking insulting. Yeah, don't be letting them do that.
No.
He got a waxwork at Madame Tussauds near
course
Dr.
he did.
Crippen, and apparently he was made up with it.
Don't
tell him that either.
There's lots of... lots of prisoners avoided him because they didn't want to get poisoned. They didn't trust him. So he became quite isolated. And, God, things are bad when you're only friends Ian Brady, isn't it? On the 1st of August 1990, he was aged 42, he was found dead in his room, in his cell room. It's not a travel tavern. It was heart failure, but he had no history of heart failure. And people think that he poisoned himself.
Oh, really?
Yeah, or somebody poisoned him.
Dun dun dun. But it brought a weird side effect, as it brought Thalium to like the world stage, and as a result of all the attention in the first Gulf War, the US used to coat their missiles in it to make their bombs more brutal. How horrible is that?
Oh my God, that's horrific.
And in 2005, this Japanese girl poisoned her mum with thallium, and she was obsessed with Graham Young, and she kept diaries of observations when she was there. Yeah. I don't know what happened to her since, but she was in a coma for a long time. I don't know if she survived.
Bloody hell.
So that's Graham Young. Who are we doing next?
Quite light-hearted compared to the others.
It really was an absolute romp compared to
I don't know who
Ramirez.
we're doing next. Who do you want to do next? Christmas special, innit?
Oh yeah, why don't you let us know what you want for your Christmas special? Not Albert Fish, I'm not doing it.
No.
But yeah, thank you so much for listening. And loads of you are donating to the Patreon, which is really, really kind. We really appreciate it. So thanks very much, and thanks for listening. Oh, if you want to like and subscribe and rate us on iTunes, that'd be great. Thanks very much. We'll see you next time. Bye.